Fantastic. Duke, welcome to the programme.
I appreciate that. I really do, Nigel. Is it okay to call you Nigel?
Of course it is. I watched that
great.
fight.
Oh, did you?
I watched that. I watched you put in Magri.
Okay.
I remember that very well. I've always enjoyed boxing.
Right.
And you know, what got you into it?
I'm one of 7 boys in my family, and my older brother Clinton, he started us off in boxing, and then my other brother Winston started, and my brother Dudley started, and then they all started, and it was like the blind leading the blind. And if my older brother would have swung a golf club or been an actor, I'd have followed him into that. And my brother was a hugely successful amateur boxer, Clinton. Went to the 76 Olympic Games representing Great Britain. Brother Dudley went to the first World Junior Championships in Yokohama, Japan, age 17, representing Great Britain. My brother Winston also was an England international. My amateur career wasn't really that great in comparison to theirs. I never won an Egg Cup as an amateur. I wasn't very good. I didn't have the dedication or the sort of aptitude, really, just to do what needed to be done. I used to get off on my brother. When my brother won, you'd get like a trophy and badges. So I used to get his badges and put it on my shorts and one thing and another. But then the bell would go and I'd get found out. So I didn't really have a great amateur career. But then I was quite tenacious, and my brother introduced me to a guy called Mickey Duff, who at the time was what, say, Arsene Wenger was to Arsenal. Mickey Duff was that of the boxing fraternity, and he changed my life forever. And then I got a great coach, Colin Smith, who trained me for a period of time as an amateur, but then Colin went off, and then when I turned pro, I'd had 13 fights before I went back to him. And then I went back to Colin, and I begged him to train me, as I did Mickey Duff, my manager, who turned me down initially, and I'd seen every other promoter stroke manager in the country before Mickey Duff would manage me. And I became a bit of a stalker, really, to be honest with you, Nigel.
And suddenly you were quite good at it.
And then all of a sudden, Mickey took me on this whistle-stop tour of America, and I'm sure that enhanced my belief, certainly, in my ability. And he took me everywhere. Like, we boxed in Vegas, Los Angeles, Reno, Atlantic City, New York, Miami, and then we went all over Europe boxing as well. And then, you know, he had like a domino effect. And the next thing I know, I'd gone like maybe 3, 4, 5 fights unbeaten. Then I boxed for a British Championship, and I won that. Yeah. And then I got a European rating to fight Charlie Magri for that European title, as you just saw there. Yeah. I won the European title shortly after that. I think that was my 13th fight, 12th, 13th fight. Then I had several sort of international fights, 10-round fights, a couple of European title defences abroad and both here in England. Won them, and the next one I was like ranked number 1 in the world. And with the WBC, I think WBA rated me, and then I got a shot at the IBF flyweight champion, a guy called Rolando Bohol from the Philippines. And then it was like more sort of shock horror for me personally. But my brother Dudley installed so much confidence in me. If Dudley told me I could have beaten Mike Tyson, I'd have believed him. I had that much confidence in him. And I can remember waking up on fight day, crying, you know, uncontrollably at times, because the realisation and the magnitude of the fight that was actually on me at that point, it was a lot for me to sort of take on board. Anyway, but Dudley turned up and I was fine. And then next one, I was like crowned the IBF flyweight champion of the world.
Pretty cool.
It was
lad from Croydon.
It was Croydon, born and bred, still live in Croydon. I've had a fantastic career, and when I look back at my career, sometimes I have to pinch myself because, like I say, I'm one of 6 boys and 1 girl in my family, and all of my brothers have had successful careers in one way or another. But I've had a lot of boxers that I know, in my opinion, had more ability than I did, or equally the same amount of ability as I did, but never quite made it. So I'm one of the lucky guys.
But you won world championships at 3 different weights.
Yeah, I've been...
to a non-boxing audience,
yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, well, I was really, really lucky to be quite tall for my first weight division, flyweight, 5'7". An average flyweight's 5'2". A big size flyweight is 5'2". I was considered quite a bit of a freak for the weight division that I first boxed in. I was a good size bantamweight, that's 8 stone 6. But when I moved through the weight divisions, being able to eat and drink the foods that I loved, and just to be able to live like a normal human being, my manager used to say to me all the time, a happy fighter is a good fighter. And once I could eat and drink the foods that I loved and replenish and not have to drain myself to make weight and one thing and another,
Otherwise, it's like being a jockey and having to starve yourself.
Yeah, listen, I've often likened jockeying to being like a professional boxer because you're constantly on the scales, you're constantly watching your weight and what you eat and what you drink. So, but then I moved to bantamweight, and then I was just very, very fortunate. Well, like I say, I picked up another world championship at bantamweight, and that's probably winning the bantamweight world title out of the 3 championships that I won. That probably gave me the most satisfaction because I was just ranked outside. I wasn't even given a hope in hell of going the distance, let alone pulling off a good victory against Gabi Canizales, who was a formidable fighter at the time. And but you know, for 12 weeks, I ate, slept, drunk, walked, talked to him. Never went out my front door unless I was going to the gym. I never went out the front door. I was going to do my run in the morning. You know, I was in bed every night at 6 o'clock, even on a summer's evening, and you know, and up at 5 o'clock every morning doing my runs. And go, you know, just eating, sleeping, walking, talking, trying not to look boxing, but just applying myself properly. Yeah. And then I won the bantamweight championship of the world, and then defended that several times. Lost it, but then every time I lost in a major championship fight, Dudley would say to me, he'd call me Little Man. That was like my pet name, family name. He'd say to me, Little Man. He'd say to me, "There's another belt out there for you. You just got to go and get it." And then Dudley would like help me to reapply myself, rededicate myself. Get my mind back on the game, and then just do what needed to be done. And
I mean, somehow those lighter weight boxing titles don't get quite the same level of fame and glamour that the heavyweight ones do. Because actually, you know, your achievement. No, I'm being serious. Yeah, I mean, your achievement, as very, very few British boxers ever lived who've done what you've done, and you were very well known in the sporting world, but kind of, I don't think outside of it you perhaps quite got the recognition, frankly, that you deserved. Yeah, mate, listen, that's life. It's not something I can change. Would I change it? I don't really know. I fancy myself as a bit of an actor, to be honest with you. Just ask my wife, she'll tell you. But no, listen, it's in the lighter weight divisions, there's obviously a lot more skill involved. There's a lot more. And it's faster. It's faster, it's action-packed, and, you know, there's nothing that any other fighter can't do on the planet that the lighter weights don't do, and more so even because they fight at a higher intensity and a higher work rate. So I don't really get too excited now when I watch boxing. It's not really my reality anymore. But you've done commentating. But I have done quite a lot of commentating over the years with Sky and ITV and BBC, and been all over the world doing it, to be honest with you. So I've had a fantastic... And you've come out of it. You've come out of it, Duke. You know, you appear fairly undamaged by it all. Well, I'd like to think so. I'd like to think so. Yeah, I used to pride myself on not getting hit, but you can't get in the water without getting hit. Unfortunately, a lot of boxers do suffer with, hard times after their careers. Yeah. You know, it's hard to make that transition from, you know, being a world champion 1 minute and the next minute you're not a world champion, and then you've got to come back to reality and get yourself a day job. But you know, I mean, listen, it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who've been at the top of their field and suddenly they're not, and age, etc., you know, and they do suffer all sorts of problems. But you're doing your bit with the Ringside Charitable Trust, aren't you? Yes, I'm involved with the Ringside Charitable Trust, they're currently funding, raising funds and awareness for retired boxers that have fallen on hard times. And there's quite a few of them. There is quite a few, and sadly, there are quite a few boxers that have fallen on hard times. Some really well-known boxers, more well-known than I am, in the boxing world, and these guys need help, you know. And I'm really surprised that there isn't enough help within the boxing fraternity. You know, people actually that have made money off of fighters, giving money and time back to fighters that desperately need it. So and are these people who've been damaged perhaps a bit by boxing as well? I think they've just been damaged by life. You know, I don't think there's anybody that's not gone through a divorce or a bereavement or anything like that hasn't experienced what most boxers do. But boxers have got the adage of having had a really hard career on top of just living an everyday life, on top of that, and suffered, you know, with mental health problems. So it's really as close to my heart, the Ringside Charitable Trust, and I do whatever I can to help promote that organisation to get them as much recognition as possible, where they can raise sufficient funds. They're currently trying to raise money for a care home for retired boxers, specifically for retired boxers. Yep.
that they're trying to raise money for to get that all together. So boxers have got a place to go and live, I should say. And, there's boxers I know now, not on a personal level, that are homeless, that are living on the streets. And, these guys they're falling apart and they need help. And the only way you can do that is by raising awareness, gaining enough sort of capital so that we can get, all come together as a boxing family, if you will, and look after these guys.
Now, I drive in through South London every day over Crystal Palace Hill.
Yeah.
So I drive pretty close to, often straight past, the Duke McKenzie gymnasium.
Oh, the jukebox.
And I've not yet been in.
No, you've never turned up, Nigel.
No,
I'm waiting for you to turn up. It's all non-contact. It's all a bit of fun. It's just keep fit.
I mean, this is interesting. So, what's the age range of people that turn up there?
So my youngest is sort of 7, 8 years old, and we do just boxing classes, just non-contact boxing classes. It's just to keep fit, predominantly. And my youngest is 8. My oldest is probably about, I'd say, 78.
Wow. Yeah. I love your advertising blurb. Whether you don't know a meat hook from a right hook.
My daughter wrote that.
Oh, it's very good.
Yeah, my daughter.
Well, you're
wrote
a self-confessed pro.
Yeah.
We'll show you how. So this is about using boxing as a means to get fit.
Just purely as a keep fit program.
Yep.
Anybody can do it. Like I say, from 7 to 78 or 88 or 98. I've put together a boxing program where people can just come along, use the gym on a daily basis. It's a members-only gym, by the way.
Yep.
And because I know who's coming in, who's coming out.
Yep.
And I'm there every day, and I plan my trade. It's a lot of fun. You should come down sometime.
Well, I tell you what, I will pop in. I'm
going to hold you to that.
No, well, he probably is. But the other thing, Duke, I'm really keen to talk to you about, and you have spoken about this before, is, you're born in the early 60s in Croydon, and sport, and I'm a year younger than you, sport is everything, isn't it? Sport is everywhere.
Yep.
What do young boys want to do, and girls too? We want to play sport. We want to play football. We want to play cricket. We want to, join the local rugby club. We want to, go to a gym and do boxing or whatever it is. And kind of sport was everywhere. And kind of we all played sport. I mean, nearly all of us played sport.
Yeah.
To some level. But you've got some thoughts on kids and sport now and what's going on.
Sure. I mean, when I was a kid, there was, like you say, there was youth clubs everywhere. On every street corner there was a youth club. So you didn't get into, it wasn't, I'm sure drugs were there, I'm sure smoking was there and drink was there, and all the bad habits that kids have today, they were all there then, but kids had something to do then, Going down to a local sports club when I was a kid, they had boxing, football, every sport under the book. Boxing, football, tennis, you name it, snooker. Yeah. You could go there all day, pay your subs, and you could spend all day there just doing what you loved, and you'd keep yourself out of trouble. I train a lot of kids in my gym, and they come in all the time. And I'm not going to say that they don't want to do it. They're almost malnourished for it. They love to come in and just work out.
Because you've given them the opportunity that is not available.
Because I've given them, exactly, Nigel. I've given them the opportunity to come in.
Are the schools not getting this right?
They're not getting it right. There was a time when I worked in several schools training young kids, but it seems to have died off now. And why they don't bring back schoolboy boxing, I don't know, because that's how it was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You wasn't going down your local school for a punch-up with anybody because, they had boxers in their school. So that was just...
And it also, I guess, teaches self-discipline.
It teaches you life skills. Boxing really teaches you life skills. It teaches you almost how to be a man. It teaches you how to carry yourself because, if you can handle yourself, if you can look after yourself in a boxing ring, you're not going to go down the road looking for trouble. You're not going to start a fight. And you're certainly not going to, pick a fight with anybody because you would be more intent to walk away from a fight or even break fights up. But today, sadly, it's not like that.
Is it because kids are playing computer games all day? Or...
Yep. Kids are on the computers all day and, they've got mobile phones and there's all these different distractions for them. And it's just they get it so easy. There's no real discipline involved and that's a really sad part.
So what do we have to do, Jig, to get kids back training, playing sport? What do we have to do?
They got to introduce schoolboy boxing back into schools.
Okay.
For male and female, because, women do boxing as well now. Yeah. And it's worldwide. And I'm sure if they reintroduce it into schools, even colleges even, there'll be a huge uptake because boxing is probably as popular in this country as football is. You know, you get massive crowds for all the major fights now, and you know you can stream it on TV.
Yeah,
and
it's interesting. I've been to a few fights recently, and I was at the Joshua fight, and I've been with Derek Chisora a couple of fights, and I love the evening out. And you're right, they're big crowds.
Yeah.
The trouble is, you know, it used to be accessible on the BBC, or on ITV. It was on Harry Carpenter,
Red
Gutteridge, and all that.
Yeah.
And now it's quite an expensive thing to watch on Sky, isn't it?
Yeah.
But despite that, you still think boxing is very popular.
Boxing is popular. I think if they ban boxing or there's no more schoolboy boxing, then boxing will grow underground, and that's when it will become very dangerous. Boxing's a very it's such an intense sport, not only mentally but physically. So without the right supervision, it's going to fall by the wayside, and you can get hurt, very seriously hurt.
Well, I'll tell you what, Duke, amazing career.
Thank you.
I was a fan of yours all those years ago. I used to watch you religiously, and good luck with all you're doing today, and thank you for joining us here.
Thank you for inviting me on.
That was Duke McKenzie on Talking Pints. Great stuff.